Hold on a second. Hold on a second. It just went live now. Well, boys, I think we're live. This was I don't know what I did wrong, but then I saw it pop up in the corner. It said 175. I was like, oh shit. That must mean that there's 108. Well, now there's 200 people watching this. So now I can't walk away from it. God damn it. Well, it was a mistake, but here we are. So I'm just going to run with it.
Hey, everybody.
Hey, guys. Yeah, so thanks for joining. My plan was to record this and then play it tomorrow because I like to play it. Maybe this is a bonus episode. Maybe I'll do another one tomorrow. But I like to have it pre-recorded and play if people are busy and I could find a slot that works. So today we have Samwitch and DoubleSharp joining us from Paintswap, and effectively also it's kind of confusing to people sometimes. I've noticed where like I say like these people are from Paintswap, but they're also working on the airdrop. They get kind of confused, but I can actually give some of the background on that, which would be very helpful to majority of people. So I'll open with that. So about a year ago, I'd say, like, time has come really fast. I reached out to Samwitch and I said, hey, I have this idea for the airdrop where we do like some vested portion or whatever. And like I had already seen that Paintswap has the FNFT marketplace, which I think is really, really nice. Personally, I'm not a fan of like art NFTs. I like hate art NFTs. I'm not into it at all. But I think that the financial use case behind like any type of NFT was really cool. So when you guys built out the FNFT marketplace, I was like, oh shit, I think this could actually be a thing where effectively you're trading a locked position similar to like a VE equal or any VE33 DEX that has tokenized voting escrow positions. So when I saw that, I reached out and I said, hey, Samwitch, let's do this. And he was like, we can do it, but I think I have a better option. And he presented, of course, Samwitch has a better option. Like this guy's super intelligent. So he goes, here's a sheet. Here's like a document outlining how to accomplish what you want to accomplish. One is with ERC 721, which is a basic, like, I guess like the VEF NFT model. And then the second one is the 11 ERC 1155 model, which gives you more flexibility with like an order book. So, at first I was like, I don't know about this order book stuff. Like, let's just keep it like what everyone knows and just like lock positions and let people merge and split whatever. And then I started noticing like the growing trend of clubs, right? Which ironically since then has gotten like infinitely crazier. Like my whole like X feed is like club. Well, I'm not complaining about it, but I think that it's become super trendy right now. And most likely the reason why you see that is because there are other high throughput like execution environments, right? But on Sonic, like we had like all of us knew a year ago that Sonic was actually happening. The testnet was real, and that there was going to be a high throughput execution environment, so that we can effectively just start planning early, which you guys were doing already, right? And I think you guys had the order book on testnet actually.
Yeah, we actually originally built the order book for S4 Kingdom. So for the Idle RPG game, it's sort of one of maybe the thing that people don't know about Paintswap is a lot of the stuff that we do, even though it's a game, we still built real financial primitives into it to trade, arrows and gems and armor and all the stuff that's in S4. So we did have an early version of that was designed for Phantom, which, Phantom was also a relatively high throughput chain for its time relative. With Sonic, it's even faster. So we've taken that and then optimized it further, added more features, really pushed it so that it's actually what you're looking for on like a SEX or something like that, where it's like centralized, you're using databases and stuff like that, but now with Sonic, so that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I think that you guys got like a head start, honestly, because you had the advantage of at least knowing that the chain was coming, like really coming, I think that a lot of the high throughput performant chains that you see now that you don't see, but that you hear of now, they're not live yet, right? Like there's a few, I will admit, there's like, I think Say is also like high throughput EVM. There's probably some L2s. I know Mega ETH is coming and a few other L2s. But at least like you guys were in the community for a long time in the Phantom community. You knew that the target goal of Phantom was always to be faster and to have higher scalability, right? I mean, Phantom was always fast and probably could have a decent order book, but that wasn't the issue. The issue is more of like the bottleneck of just getting so many transactions. I like to always give people, and I've said it on this show once before, and I'll just repeat, like the Phantom was really great, still is great, still live, right? But the problem with Phantom was like an issue of success, which I like to compare to like a restaurant. Like, let's say you have a pizzeria and it's really, really busy. Well, you start slow, it's good. You build up a huge customer base. Next thing you know, like you're running out of pizza dough, and it sucks because like you really want to sell the pizza, you have a line down the block, but like you just can't scale, like you can't keep up with it. So what do? You buy more ovens, you hire more staff, you get a bigger location so that you can meet the demand. That's exactly what we did at Sonic. So all of these projects that existed on Phantom before were already pretty fast. Like S4 Kingdoms was already on Phantom. And what happened is that when you guys migrated, it just leveled up. And essentially, we gave you the tools to be able to do exactly what you needed. So you guys knew that this was coming. You had been in the Phantom ecosystem for a long enough time to know that like we're not bullshitting about building the tech, and we're not just like talking about it. That Bernard Schultz was added to the team. Andre is working on it. Mike is like kind of leading the whole thing. And 6 months ago, effectively, yeah, 6 months ago. Wow, time flies. But we launched and you guys were able to go right into it. Like there was no like wait for another upgrade, like things are coming. We had a tiered launch, migration, centralized exchanges, things, infrastructure. And then you guys were able to launch. And I think that I would like to hear a little bit more about VRF. I see you guys chat a lot about VRF. I think that most people in crypto think that VRF is all created equal. Like VRF means VRF. But I saw a nice like comparison, like side by side table the other day, where you guys kind of broke.
Mm-hmm.
Like I think it was comparing with Chainlink VRF. I might be.
Yep, I think I saw that same tweet.
Yeah.
So yeah, I can talk about that. And I mean, just these are things that people have probably heard me say before, but when we have been on Phantom and Sonic for a long time now, I originally started developing on Phantom in early 2021, I think. And the thing that drew me to Phantom was that I've been a web developer, application developer for a long time. And it was the first, like I always thought blockchain stuff was cool, crypto is cool, but it wasn't fast enough to be like a web speed, like actually using applications the way that people are used to using them. And I felt like Phantom was like, you had the one block finality, you had pretty fast block times, and so it seemed really cool. I actually was here for the tech to be able to leverage Phantom to do stuff that I didn't think you could really do on other networks. And then that's why we've always been pushing the network as hard as we can. I think Samwitch mentioned that with S4, part of the reason we did design it to be an idle RPG game is because we were aware of some of both Sam and I have worked on core blockchain sort of node app development before, and know some of the limitations that people run up against where you have too many people trying to do too many transactions. You end up with gas spikes. It ends up being not a great user experience. And so like you were saying, Phantom was ahead of all the other chains, but still had some of the limitations. So we had a bunch of stuff already pushing up against what we thought was the Phantom limits. And then as soon as Sonic was available, we were like, all right, well, now we can kind of like unloosen some of those constraints and really push it further, make it go faster. And so we've had things like our own VRF built into S4 for a long time now because we needed random numbers to do a lot of the gameplay. And then once we had the opportunity to do it on Sonic, we're like, okay, well now instead of it taking however many seconds, we can get this down to like 1 or 2 seconds. And with things like VM on Sonic, we're like, oh, instead of doing this whole complicated token model, subscription model, all the stuff that Chainlink and a lot of the other VRF apps do somewhat out of necessity, because that's how things have always worked, we were able to kind of look at it, reimagine it, and say, okay, what if we did this more as like a public service? We can fund the infrastructure through FIEM. We can leverage Sonic's speed to make it really fast. So now if your game needs a random number, instead of this taking 10 seconds, 15 seconds, 30, a minute, however long the chain is to reach finality and make sure you're not going to have rollbacks and all that stuff, we don't have to worry about that on Sonic. So now we can give you a random number in like 1 or 2 seconds, fully round trip, committed, final. And that opens up all sorts of opportunities for doing, sort of GameFi, GameFi.
Are you seeing other projects use the VRF besides you guys right at this point?
We, yes, slowly. We put it out, developed a lot of it, and then we've been really focused on the order book. So it is secretly available for people right now. If they look at the documentation, they can get the contract address and all the docs to set it up. But we haven't been pushing too much on the marketing yet, just because we've been really focused on the airdrop.
So what's the issue with VRF usually? The issue with VRF is effectively like getting the number as fast as possible, right? Like how to have, I remember talking to someone about VRF one time, and they were telling me that like Chainlink isn't necessarily like you can front run it or something, so that I forgot what it was, but like you could effectively front run VRF sometimes if the chain is too slow, or if the actual VRF like off chain or whatever, and that the best way to do it was actually like off of like the hashes or something. I don't know.
Sort of. Yeah. I mean, that's a lot of that stuff. These are things that it's going to depend on which networks you're talking about specifically.
Mm-hmm.
But I guess for anyone who doesn't know, VRF stands for verifiable random function. It's a way to generate random numbers on the blockchain. And so for things like I'm like fighting a monster and I'm going to get a random amount of experience points for beating it. It's going to be between 1 and 10. You would use a random number to pick. Excuse me. To pick between those numbers and come up with the result that you're going to then put into the game and then move on. And so you can do things like use the block hash, but that's not a real random number. It's not necessarily predictable in the way that that you might usually think of something being predictable. But anytime you're dealing with things like a block hash, you're now running up against validators or miners being able to influence the random number. And so if they decide that, they happen to be involved in whatever the application is that this random number is for, they can decide that like, this number isn't that great for me, so I'm not going to provide it. I'm going to censor that number, and I'm going to wait for something that's a little bit more advantageous. Maybe the next block hash will be better.
How is it that you guys do it? Do you use like some off-chain like type of like, how is I feel like people might be familiar with Chainlink like VRF because they have like this huge chainwork like network behind the scenes. It's like helping facilitate oracles, and there's a lot of like permissionless features there. How is it that you guys are able to get the number like for?
So we're doing it in a similar way to what Chainlink does on that side. It's basically using a cryptographic proof based on a public-private key to generate. It sort of boils down to using a signature that you can then verify, because this is the signer's signature. And so you're able to prove that this number was generated correctly and everything using the public key, but you can only generate it using the private key. So we're able to keep it secure while still having it be provable. We went a little bit of a different route than what Chainlink does, mainly because of performance. So they have a little bit more of a decentralized backend. They're sort of running their own blockchain in the background. And we went with a little bit more, it's still trustless and verifiable, but it's a little bit more of a centralized solution because frankly, it's kind of hard to keep up with the Sonic network, even from an application perspective. So, and I think you saw some of the tweets where we were talking about how to optimize transactions and applications for actually submitting transactions to Sonic, because a lot of like Ethers and hard hat stuff is designed originally for Ethereum. And, it's fine to wait a second before you get a hash back and do this and that. And like, that's not fast enough for Sonic. So we had to sort of rework things and make sure the whole backend could support the speed of the chain.
Do you guys know? You guys probably know because you've been around for a while, like in the ecosystem. But do you guys know Casper with a K?
Yep.
Yeah. So you know his new product, right?
I don't.
Oh, it's super cool. So I saw Casper in New York this past week for permissionless. Very, very, very nice guy. I've been hearing about the product for a long time. Like I had known like when there was slower like RPC performance issues on Phantom, like he had stepped in because this guy is like an expert of RPC basically. And he had helped out and he even helped the foundation with like some new ideas back then. And now I've been hearing like Steve on our team who works in BD, he's been telling me about this. And like, you know, sometimes when you talk to people like via text, like on Telegram, it's just so hard to understand what the hell they're talking about, especially when it's technical. But the second I met him and within like 5 minutes, I was like, wow, this is really cool. So effectively uh, what they do is they have like this new type of RPC that it's actually built specifically for Sonic. Like they had to build this thing because Sonic RPCs, whatever the issue is, that they're not as efficient enough. So he's been working on this for some time, and that it just the product was created out of necessity, which I think Andre talks about a lot. Which like developers build the best products when they're built out of necessity, like they need it for them personal use, and then it just ends up being that it's like, oh well, it's actually pretty good because I needed it, and now other people also find that they need it, and then it kind of starts. What the product is like I'm not super technical, so I might be wrong on some of this stuff, but let's say you have an application on Sonic like Dex, and like 90% of the RPC calls are swaps. Like people or whatever it is. Like there's a majority of RPC calls that are the same thing. So maybe on S4 Kingdom or on Paintswap, like there's that one transaction that's most common. What this RPC does is it has like a local cache where like it makes the RPC execution like instant, 0 milliseconds, because it's built up a history and it knows like, okay, like it identifies this is the same transaction that 500 other people have done in the past 20 minutes. And it just effectively what Casper was telling me is that when you have like an RPC call, maybe like less than 1% of that RPC call is unique to the user. And like the rest of that transaction is just like a default swap. So let's say you're doing a swap on like a DEX, it would be what is unique to the swap is the tokens and the amount. And then everything else on that transaction is actually the same exact thing that everyone else is doing, which is swap or deposit liquidity, withdraw. Like when you look at a DEX or any application for that matter, there's only so many functions that could be called. So if you keep repeating the function over and over, you're actually just spamming the RPC. So he built this new thing that kind of like makes it 99 times like more performant, where you don't need to keep calling the same shit over and over and over again. And I think he started rolling this out, and like we're going to start working with him more from the foundation side, like helping apps to improve, because it's exactly what you said. Like Sonic is so fast that the traditional like Alchemy RPC, which we work with Alchemy, and there's a bunch of other RPC providers, like they're good, but they haven't started to use this like new tech yet. And maybe they will. And I think that maybe they don't, because the cost also goes down a lot. So I feel like if you have an RPC business, like you're making a really good amount of money. And if someone says, hey, I have a really performant like option where you'll save like 99% of the cost and it's 99%, 99 times faster, might get a little bit iffy. But yeah, that's just one example of someone who built something for Sonic that's like just purely out of necessity. So like you guys did the same thing. And you know, I think also the airdrop is a part of necessity because we needed to do it and we don't have the bandwidth internally to build it. So there's only a few teams on Sonic that have been around for a really long time, that we would not only trust building it, but also like enjoy working with. So like Samwitch is one of those guys where like, you know, I'll give you an example. Samwitch already had completed the audit, and you know, obviously foundation paid for the audit, whatever. And then I came up with some other ideas. I was like, hey, can you add this and this to the contract? Like I think we should add these. And like I feel like most people, they would be like kind of pissed off, be like, dude, why didn't you tell me? Like what the hell? Like I would have added it before. And for him, he was like, yeah, sure, no problem, makes sense, like let me add it and let's just get it re-audited. Like
You're speaking his language.
Dude, that's
Like,
very valuable.
I had all these cool ideas. We've got to get them in. Everyone just stay up all night. We're going to do it. Sam loves that stuff.
Yeah. I mean, I think for the long term, the changes that I added were probably a good idea. But yeah, especially on the foundation level, like we respect people like that when it's like, if we're trying to collaborate with a team or something or work on some idea and they're just like, yeah, sure, no problem. It's like, wow, it's pretty nice to have someone that at least be somewhat receptive and like effectively collaborate to like the same common goal. Because at the end of the day, for the airdrop, like it's very reflective of not only Phantom, but not only Sonic, but you guys too, right? Like it's a huge testament for all the hard work that you guys have put in the order book and like working on these contracts, specifically the branding, the front end. And from what I've seen, like it looks amazing. So we want to make sure that everything looks good and that when it goes live, like it also helps brush and it helps Paintswap. The whole idea, like when we first came up with the order book, I mean with the like the airdrop, was like, how do we empower a loyal application that effectively has the tech and has a really good team, but is like needs something, right? And I think that like NFTs arguably have kind of like died out a lot. And I've always felt like the void for NFTs were FNFTs. So that's why FNFT came to mind, because I was like, people are willing to pay high fees on financial primitives, maybe not so much art. So like, that's why when I told you guys, I was like, look, we'll fund everything. We'll help you guys. You guys charge what you feel is right. And your work will reflect. It'll help all the brush holders. It'll help the Paintswap treasury, the team, so that this way, who knows? I mean, I've said this to Samwitch early in this process. I said, if this works out how I think it is, I hope that 5 other chains ask you to build the same thing. I hope. Like, I don't care about like Sonic in terms of like taking full ownership and saying like, yeah, you guys can't do it anywhere else. No, like if the airdrop model works well and you guys can do an airdrop order book on 10 different chains, like good for you guys. Like definitely do it.
I mean, I think you say that because you know that they can't keep up with Sonic, so it wouldn't be as good anyway.
That's part of it. But even if they were fast and if they were high throughput, I think that like if you have a product that works really well and is success, like, you know, having exclusivity on one chain is great. But like at the end of the day, every application on any chain is a business. So like it feels kind of shitty to tell an app like, hey, we need some level of exclusivity. We do it nowadays, like when we give out grants and stuff, because it's just so competitive, the landscape. But I mean, like you guys have proven loyalty to Sonic, and like we're more than willing to jump on the task of like creating this order book with us. So yeah, I'm curious. I'll ask you guys a couple of questions. Like, how do you think it's going to play out? Like, what do you think? There's no way to know because no one's ever done this before. So it's pretty exciting to me. I'm like super nervous, but also super excited because I'm curious what the discount is going to be. What do you think? What are your projections on like how people are going to price this thing out? Are people splitting NFTs, buying NFTs? Is there market makers going to get involved because there's like a really good opportunity to pick up discount tokens, VCs? Like, what's your overall view?
I mean, I'll just say a couple things and I'll let Sam chime in. But I think, I mean, to some extent, who knows? And that's actually one of the cool things about it is that it is just sort of going to let the market decide instead of just pushing a bunch of tokens out there, having everyone like the only thing you can do with it is sell them, dump them on the market. Now you are sort of introducing a more unique financial primitive where it's sort of like buying futures or something like that, where you're like, okay, like I'm betting on the future price of something, or I want it to be liquid now, so I'm going to give up some of that opportunity cost in terms of value because maybe I'll sell it for half of what it's worth just because I need it right now. Those are all the sort of creative dynamics that can be introduced. And I think it's going to be, I think all of those things that you said are going to end up happening. I'm sure that if there's VCs who want to buy S tokens and they look at the order book and they can get a discount on them, and they were planning on holding it for a year anyway, like why wouldn't you buy them at a discount? And
yeah, that's my that's my like I'll probably start pushing that, and I have a thread prepared like a week before. Once you start seeing me post threads about VCs and the airdrop, we're getting close because the thing with the VCs is like, I don't want to tell them too far ahead because like the deal flow, like they have the memory of like a turtle. Like they see so many, like they have so much, or maybe turtles have good memory. I don't know. They have poor memory, but like they see so much deal flow and they just say no to 99%. So it's like, if you have an idea, and I spoke to a ton of them already about this whole thing, they're like, oh yeah, it sounds cool. They understand it. It's basically an OTC bond market on the future price of S. That's exactly what it is. They effectively cannot sell. Like once they buy it, they're not going to sell and take the loss. They're going to wait the whole time because they want the full maturity of the bond, because the bond matures at 9 months and then you take a loss. Most likely you take a loss if it's less, depending on the price of the token. But yeah, they're interested in it. I think that they're like kind of shocked that there's an opportunity. I know everyone likes to say, like, oh, once in a generation opportunity, but like this is kind of like a really unique opportunity. And the more that I think about it, it wasn't the initial plan of designing this. I don't think it was the plan with you guys either, where you kind of think about it. It's like, well, it just ends up being like natural human psychology, right? If you're bullish on this token, like let's say you're in the Sonic ecosystem for however long, a year, 2 years, 3 years, and you really feel like there's upside on the current token price, why wouldn't you just buy it? Right? Like it's just like, why would you not buy it? And it effectively is a handover of weak hands to strong hands, which people who came for the airdrop, they want to make a quick buck. I'm not against that. That's the whole point in the first place. The whole point of the airdrop is to bring new people to make them some money. It's not hyper liquid. It's not a brand new token. It's not a TG. We're talking about a 6-year-old token here. So if they can come and then transfer of wealth from like the weak handed to the bullish, I mean,
exactly.
My math that I've done in my head, very without talking dollars, is let's say I can take 100 S tokens right now, and I can buy a position that when it matures in 9 months, it's worth 150 S tokens. Why would I not buy it?
Exactly. I mean,
That's
I think the only answer I have to that question is if you're the like day trader, I'm going to buy and sell. It went up 10% today. It went like, but that's not. I mean, in my opinion, that's not real investing. That's just gambling.
Well,
If you
VCs are
actually
ready to hold too. I mean, they're
and I wasn't, and I actually wasn't talking about VCs then. I meant like just in general. There's like chatter about price action and all this because people are looking at like a 2-minute chart and you're like, okay, it went up, it went down the last 3 minutes or whatever. But that's not what I would consider like investing in something. If you've really looked into something, you believe in the technology, you believe in the future, you know, price fluctuations do matter, but you are looking at a longer time scale, I think. And so it really goes exactly to what you were saying. If you're planning on holding it for 9 months or a year anyway, and you can get a 30% discount or whatever it is, like that makes total sense. So I don't know why somebody wouldn't do that. And I think it's also, you mentioned when in your original question, like, do I think people will be splitting them? And the answer is sort of yes, but I'll let Samwitch kind of talk about this a little bit more. I know someone was asking what standards we used, and you mentioned earlier that we went with an ERC 1155, which is a multi-token standard, meaning that you can have an NFT, it can support both fungible and non-fungible tokens. And effectively, you don't have to, split your position like you would with a VE NFT, because that had one token ID and then some amount of value associated with it for each holder. And in this, there's a token ID for the airdrop season, and then people will be allocated an amount of that airdrop. So they'll be able to transfer portions of their allocation around. So if you have 100, you could transfer 1, you could transfer 10, you could transfer all 100.
How does that work? Does it like decouple like from the original position and you could like take tokens out of it? Like how does that, what does the experience look like for a user? Like let's say let's walk through it. Maybe Samwitch, maybe he wants to comment, but like if I get my airdrop and I get 100 tokens, right? 25% I could claim instantly. Now I have 75 tokens. What can I do with that 75 tokens right now? Like pending that the airdrop is live and the order book is live. What can I do with those tokens in the order book? How does it look the experience wise? Not visually, but like logically.
He doesn't want to talk about it. No, I just heard. Wait, I think maybe somebody's having some internet problems, but I will answer that.
Okay, perfect.
So effectively, it's interesting because I would say that what the airdrop tokens are a semi-fungible token. So there's aspects of it that are an NFT. Like, for example, I added, because I'm a nerd and I do like the tech, I did set it up so that the SVG, the graphic that's generated for each individual position, all generated on chain. It's creating all the graphics, all the values. So when you look at it, all that stuff isn't hosted on an external server. It's all coming from the blockchain. And then at the other end of it, it looks a lot more like an ERC20, where you have 75 tokens and you want to transfer 5 of them to somebody. You can do that.
Okay. Okay, now I get it. Yeah, I think we actually pinged DBank about that today to like make sure that when the token is deployed that it's like displayed properly. So now what you're saying is that if I go in my wallet, I have like kind of that ERC20 looking token in there, and I could just, let's say I have that 75 tokens now, I can go and trade them just like that. It's not like the 721 experience whatsoever.
Exactly. It's super flexible. I mean, you can transfer them to somebody for, I like you, here's 5 of my vesting tokens. You can use the order book. You could theoretically use them on some other app that supports.
A bunch of people are coming up with some interesting. I have a group on Telegram. It's called airdrop composability. And I think I think you guys are working on a CDP. There's another person working on like some options protocol. I think Shadow is working on like a LST, like a liquid. I don't know what you call it. I guess it's kind of an LST, like a compounding token, or no, not an LST, a liquid, like a liquid wrapper, just a liquid wrapper. And there's somebody else doing one more thing. So there's like 4 use cases for it. So I guess like in retrospect, it's really nice because actually the 1155 gives you more fungibility when it comes to like DeFi composability.
Right.
So yeah, I at first I was like, why can't they just do it the same? It's just so much easier to do the same, because you guys already had it and I was familiar with it.
Right.
Now, the more that I think about it, it's like, wow, this could actually be really cool. And it's interesting because beyond an airdrop, you can actually just make this like a points market. Like if a protocol had tokenized points, you could actually do the same exact thing. I think the criteria just needs to be similar to what we did, which is you need to have like one market and one start day and one end day. The second you start changing it where it's like vesting is a different amount of days for different people, you need a new order book for each token.
When you think about it, that's how options contracts work.
Yeah, exactly.
Traditional finance. So you're not just like having like random strike prices and random execution dates. There's
all the expirations are the same basically.
Right. And so it's I mean, you kind of nailed it. That's the vision that we had, is having this, we're big into NFTs, going back to what you started with. Like, I like art. I think some of the art NFTs are cool. At the same time, there's a lot of them I'm not super into. I think there's some financial ones that are cool, some I'm not that into. But I think that NFTs really do represent one of the, core value propositions of crypto, which is that you can take something that represents something else and have it be, immutable on the chain, trackable, public ledger, all of that sort of stuff, so that you're able to do cool things like options type stuff, order book type stuff, art, deeds, grants, like all that sort of stuff that now, I don't know if anyone's ever bought a house, you have to get title insurance because they're not totally sure that they haven't sold this house to somebody else at some point. Putting all that stuff on a blockchain solves a lot of problems. So I've always been really into NFTs because of all the use cases that they can apply to. And I think the airdrop order book that we've been working on is another perfect use case for that. And we really did want it to be highly composable. We wanted it to, I feel like we do like the tech, and so we do kind of push for the open standards and how can we make this usable in ways that users are going to be interested in and want to participate with and get other people excited and just kind of grow the whole ecosystem.
Yeah, one of the things I'll say is that like one of the most one of the most requested features of Sonic is like, you guys need to have the hyper liquid of Sonic. Like, you know, everyone says the same shit. Okay. It's like Andre's building his own thing, right? Andre is Andre, and we support him, of course. But like, if you think that the internal team is like pinging Andre every time we see a tweet, like seeing, hey, what's up with the Andre project? What's up with, we let Andre cook. Andre's in the kitchen. He's doing his own thing. I'm paying attention to what's happening right now, which is like, you have a new primitive. It's only specific to Sonic, and Brush already exists. Like, that's a play all in itself, where like, if you want to support a project that's actively building, that has new tech, that's using the new tech of the chain, that has a community, like Brush already exists. And I think it's a perfect story of like, not like a you know, we did really well with Euler early on in Sonic, because Euler effectively died, right? Like, they got exploited and they completely died. But like, I hate to make this comparison, but it's like kind of like we're repositioning Paintswap, and we're doing it together, where you have something that used to be really trend focused on like NFTs and art. You guys said, you know what? Maybe NFTs aren't going to last forever. Let's start doing S4 Kingdoms, and I give you a lot of credit for using the same token for that. That's like a huge thing. I just did a tweet yesterday about like, you're going to start seeing chains doing that, which is like abandoning their token and then launching a completely new chain, and just like putting a little bit of makeup on it and making it look like it's new, but it's the same team.
Yeah, and that didn't feel right to us, because everyone who you know had bought Brush before and had believed in Paintswap, all the things that have changed in the market it's not their responsibility. And I feel like we totally could have done it differently and justified it, and some people would have been upset, and then they would have gotten over it, and probably no one would talk about it anymore. But yeah, it didn't feel right. So we wanted to keep the community that we had, keep them happy. They've supported us, so we wanted to support them.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, now it's like you guys are having this like resurgence where there's the ability to give exposure to just order books. And I think there's only one other order book. It's called Express. Also a really, really, really cool team. They're building perps, actually, order book perps. A lot of teams are we get a lot of inbound about clubs and a lot of inbounds about perps and stuff, because hopefully what's happening right now is people start seeing like FEM, and that you could effectively run like your own Hyperliquid on the chain, basically. Like, you don't need the infrastructure that Hyperliquid has, or like any of the legal headache or issue, or even need to issue your own token. You actually, the beauty of Sonic, and one of the things that I respect Andre for is like, Andre basically made it so that Sonic solves a lot of the headaches that he's had in the past, which is issuing a token, right? Like, you'll always see him talk about like what a headache it is to issue a token. It's just such a pain in the ass, and just, yeah, community is always going to be making accusations, legal issues, just managing the token, the community, like whatever. It's just a pain. And like, Sonic is the first chain where you can actually have an application and not have a token and make money, like, easily. I think that's one of the major selling points, because, you know, if you had Hyperliquid on Sonic or something similar to that, you don't need a token at all. I think I saw yesterday Hyperliquid made $300 million in revenue. That's not based off their token, bro. That's based off of just trading fees. They decide to buy back the token with that, and then create another revenue stream that's like has speculation attached to it. But like, other chains have done fee monetization. I think the other one was Kanto. They did like a fee rebate thing, but it was like 10 or 15%. But I mean, 90% is so extreme that you're just paying a 10% service charge, basically, to have the infrastructure there. So that 10%, in theory, as operating a business on Sonic, like the order book, Paintswap, any application, if on your gas transactions, you're paying 10% of a fee, that 10% of the fee is subsidizing USDC, Chainlink, tech, BD, everything. So I think that once people start to figure this out, and I think Andre is like super ahead of the trend on this one. Like, spent like L2s are not, unless you're Robinhood or Coinbase, 99% of L2s will fail. It's just so much cost. Like we've spent myself and Sam Harcourt, like BD at Sonic, we spent like tens of millions of dollars prepping Sonic. So just imagine if you have to do that like for every single L2 because they all need the same thing. It becomes so much. It becomes like overwhelming.
Right.
So now you have like an application like you guys, right? You're going to make money from the fees of the order book. It's the same thing as Hyperliquid, right? You're making money from the fees and you're making money from the gas. Forget the brush token altogether, right? Yes, you're going to use fees to do buybacks and stuff, right?
I'll say except that we use some of those fees for buyback. And
that's what Hyperliquid does too, right? Like that's a part. So, like, technically speaking, you don't need to buy back a token if you didn't have a token, right? So you would just be making all of that revenue as a team,
right? Exactly.
But because you have a community and you have a token, buying back the token is great. So now on top of the fees that you generate, you're also generating a bunch of gas. So like this is the ultimate experiment for us at Sonic because it's like, let's see how it looks to have a pretty busy. I think the order book would be pretty busy. I feel not just buying, but also selling because people are going to buy and sell before the maturity of the bond, right? It's between the amount of money that is going to be traded is probably in the middle. Like I'd say 3 to 6 months into the 9-month distribution. That's where a lot of the trading activity is going to happen. But you'll see people who lose a ton of money too if they just make a bad trade. It's not guaranteed to make money. If you're able to get an NFT and you're paying a discount and then you're like entering, exiting, you could either make a lot of money or you can lose cash if you're like not projecting the future properly, effectively of what the maturity
like
is.
all other investments and all other speculative investment moves. But I do think the one unique thing here is that because it is being funded by the sort of loyalty airdrop that Sonic's doing, there is a lot of like extra liquidity being injected. So like even if you lose money, it was like kind of free money.
Yeah,
and
it's like a paid experiment because I don't think that people who lose money playing around with the airdrop are going to be mad. You're playing at your own risk, right? You don't have to. You don't have to play at all. You can just get your token, claim your 25%, sit back and just chill the whole time and just wait 9 months and claim. But there are going to be people that it's like kind of get that itch that they're like, I got to check out this thing, like this order book thing, because you'll see it over. Like I said, over like from month probably 3 to 6, you'll start seeing people posting like they made money, like saying like I got an airdrop of 1,000 tokens. By the time I was done trading it, I made it into 5,000 tokens. Like I hope to see that, which is so funny because it's the purest form of like one person is losing because they made wrong trades and then one person is just winning because they played it right. Yeah.
And then hopefully though that, the market ebbs and flows, but there's still all the relative token prices. Like you have the S price compared to USD and all the other tokens and stuff. So there's going to be all sorts of dynamics at play it makes a locked position somewhat liquid. So you can do all sorts of cool stuff with it. I think I'll let Sam chime in because I've been talking a lot as I sometimes do.
Sam got booted. He booted himself.
He booted himself. But I think you mentioned Express doing their clop, and we did some things that were slightly different. Still order book based, but I'll let Sam jump in, especially because it's getting crazy windy all of a sudden.
Yeah, I think I see a tornado forming behind you.
Oh, yeah. Sorry, I turned my fan off because it's so hot in here, and it just disconnected me for some reason. So going back to the what I think is going to happen. I think people who are like super bullish, they're going to use their 25% immediate claim to then buy more. And because of
that's max degen.
Yeah. And one thing about order books is they generate competitive prices as well. So I think people are the discounts probably not going to be as low as some buyers would hope, but that's going to be better for the people looking to sell.
I hope it's 30%. That's what my hope is. My hope is that people don't look. The reality of this too, Samwitch, is that people who don't understand it in the beginning, they're the ones that are going to lose, because there's only two ways to do this. Either you burn and you're just screwing yourself, right? And you just like, for some reason you accidentally burn or whatever. Or you take the 25% and you just trade it up. So by the time that the 9 months is over, you have way more than you were supposed to have.
Yep. And we've also added a little feature. If you're using S to buy the locked S, it will show you the effective APR as well. That was that was a suggestion by Johan. So you could say, oh, I'm going to buy X amount of locked tokens. How many more will I get by the time the vested period is done as an APR? So
yeah, I asked him to add that, because what I told him is, I said that effectively it's like you're staking. Because if you think about like the behind the scenes of what you're saying, is that if you take an amount of tokens and you forfeit them for a bond, it's like you have guaranteed staking. So all of the staking rewards are going to, like, you're going to be able to get more staking rewards than actually being staked on a node from just buying these positions. I think my calculations were somewhere around like 12%.
I mean, I think it's ultimately going to, like, that the APR rate ultimately comes down to the deal that you're able to get, though, too. So if somebody sells them for one, fraction, like 1%, then your effective APR is going to be pretty good. At the same time, everyone should be careful. Just because it's listed on the order book doesn't mean that it's, a good deal. So do your own research, all that stuff. Make sure that you are buying tokens that are priced the way that you want them to be. But effectively, yeah, if you're buying stuff at a discount, and all you have to do is hold on to it for it to mature and be able to effectively end up with more, then yeah, that's sort of where the calculator on the UI comes in, because it'll show you what your effective APR looks like.
Yeah. I just see somebody just commented, Andy, who's Bird Mania, who used to work at Sonic, says, just posted he's made a conversion system to lock your NFT for liquid VS, which is available immediately, which is then collateralized by the S, unlocked in 9 months. Yeah, that's the same thing. We've seen a lot of people talking about building this, and I actually designed something for this as well, where basically what you're doing is you're providing a loan. Like, people, it's like an OTC market where people are willing to provide a loan because they know that the unlock is guaranteed. Like, they know that the underlying, and I came up with something similar like this for staking on Sonic, but staking in general, which is basically like, let's say you're staked in a position like on a node. Again, it's the same exact thing. Like, you have to wait 14 days for it to undelegate. But what you could do is there could be an intermediary that says, yo, I'll give you all the money that you're going to get in 14 days, but there's a fee, right? Like, if you're supposed to get 100,000 tokens and you're staked, they might come in and they'll eat the risk and say, well, it's not even a risk. It's just OTC like option, where it's like, I'll give you 95,000 tokens. I'll make 5,000 tokens by providing you, like, you're a loan shark. So, I mean, it sounds similar to that, where it's like a loan shark, where you're giving people APR by putting money up front, but they just have to wait until the 9-month maturity. Also super cool.
Yeah, totally. And it's in a way, it's sort of like a treasury in that sense, where you're buying something that has an interest rate, which, I mean, it's a little bit different, or an APR, and then eventually it has a maturity. And the reason that is sort of the underpinning of the financial market is because those are guaranteed.
Yeah.
And it's, it's different because those are US dollars and we're talking about S tokens. But if what you're going for is investing in S tokens, then it's literally, I mean, it feels a lot like buying options or buying treasuries.
Yeah, it's a dream come true if you're an S bull, because you just want more tokens. You don't care about the value.
Exactly.
Yeah, if you care about the value, right? If you're acquiring tokens based on the US dollar value at the time, it's very difficult. I'm not going to lie. Like, it's hard to calculate the future price. But if your mindset is the similar mindset of someone who's staking, which is very simple, which is stake a certain amount of tokens, guaranteed to also get tokens and be able to claim them at the end of the staking period or whatever. It's the same exact thing. This one is just, I think, a much higher yielding. I wouldn't be surprised if we see people unstake to buy more tokens, because if you're staked, you're already bullish. So if it's going to be weird, because you might see like big whales like unstake. Like if I was staked on a node right now, I would 100% unstake. Why? Because on a node, yes, you're guaranteed to get 4.6%, I think, over a year, right? Like that's what the staking APR is. But you can get the same thing and get way higher yield right now. But then it plays with the discount. That should impact the discount, because the discount should be lower at that point, and then the APR is going to change. So much game theory. I'm so excited. I swear. It's like I've never been this excited for something in crypto. I swear to God. It's because there's no way to know how it's going to play out. There's so much psychological like influence, basically.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the reasons. I mean, I was excited to work on it for a variety of reasons, but I do think it's kind of cool partially because I don't know how people are going to end up doing it. People are going to have all sorts of strategies. There's going to be plenty of people who just dump their token and maybe regret it later. There's going to be people who have all sorts of crazy strategies. And like you were saying, I mean, it's an order book. So it's really similar to what you would see on, like, a lot of people are familiar with like Binance, for example. So similar type interface where, you know, you can have whatever, you can draw lines and figure out your strategy and your TA and all that sort of stuff.
Oh, really? Does it have like a trading view type of setup?
Not fully, but it's, I mean, similar thing where you're going to be able to see charts and all that stuff. So you can look at for patterns and stuff if you want, like all that stuff. It's also all on chain, so all the data is available.
I don't know if Samwitch is up for it, but maybe Samwitch, this is like impromptu, but if you wanted to do a screen share or something, I think you probably could if you wanted to show people. No pressure, you don't have to. But yeah, if you have anything else that you want to add, we'll probably wrap up in a few minutes. I know we started a little bit later. But yeah, if you have anything that you want to add, Samwitch, or if you want to walk people through, it's totally up to you.
Is there a way to share like part of the screen?
Let me check.
I don't want to leak the URL because we're still doing some testing.
Yes, you can. It's the same exact thing as a Google Meet. Like, you know, on Google Meet, you can choose Chrome tab, window, or entire screen.
Yep.
I think you can share a Chrome tab and it will work just fine. On the bottom, it says present or invite. Click that, then share screen, and it's the same process from there forward. I've never done this before on here, but it seems to be. And I'm also not the most intuitive person, being that this was supposed to be recorded and fucking played tomorrow, but whatever.
Oh, good.
I swear, once I saw it, I looked at the corner, I was like, live. And then I saw it was like 200. I was like, oh, shit. Why did I do this? I messed. And hey, now it's like 3,600. So some people have been watching, surprisingly.
Nice.
Yeah, can you see the screen?
Let's see. I could bring it up. There you go. Oh, perfect.
Perfect. So yeah, we got a the landing page.
I think this is the first time people are actually seeing this, right? Like they've seen screenshots and stuff.
I don't think we've even shared many screenshots, to be fair.
Oh, we got some alpha here. Let's go.
Yeah. So
damn, this is clean.
Yeah, so this is just got test data on it. So this is on Blaze testnet. So we've got a simple swap widget, so you can choose. So there's 3 quote tokens. You got Sonic, USDC, and SCUSD.
So correct me if I'm wrong, Samwitch, but if you're bullish and trying to just acquire more S, you would use S as the quote token. If you were maybe trading like on an hour-to-hour basis and you're just trying to make quick spreads, you would probably use the USD quote token, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so this is where it shows you your effective APR. So on our test contract, it's already matured. So this is the actual order book itself. Again, you've got your quote tokens there. So we did, I think this was your suggestion, was to add a moving average lines.
Yeah, you don't really need to have too much like charting tooling, because I think that doing technical or like technical analysis on this is going to be pretty hard. I think it's more going to just be driven based on sentiment and timing. I think
people love drawing lines on charts.
Oh, they love that shit, right? It's like the dumbest thing ever. It kills me when my favorite is when I see people just circle stuff and I'm like, what are you circling? Like, what is it?
Yeah, so we try to make it relatively a similar layout to most order books. What else have we got? So this is where I'm not connected, but this is where you'd see your NFT and be able to claim it and unlock it. And this is a kind of a simulator where you could figure out your effective APR. Yeah, so we try to keep it as simple as possible. You can view like your orders and various history. But there's a lot that goes on behind the scenes with something like this.
How could you connect a wallet that has an NFT? I feel like people should see that.
I don't have a EVM wallet installed on this tab. I'd have to go
worry, that's fine. That's fine. That's fine. Totally okay.
I'd have to go to another one.
Don't stress yourself. This is perfectly. This is what. There you go. That's what I was just gonna say. That's exactly what I was gonna say. So,
yeah. So this is all a SVG on chain that DoubleSharp spent an enormous amount of time on.
How many kilobytes is this? I remember reading a long time ago that like you have barely any data to work with if you're not using like IPFS or something, that like you
24 kilobytes per contract.
Yeah, that's like an artist basically fitting all of that into the 24 kilobytes, right? Like you're going pixel by pixel on there.
I mean,
go ahead, Sam.
So no, there's multiple contracts required to create that, because it didn't even fit in one. So there's loads of libraries.
So you can make one image based off of multiple libraries of. I did not know that.
Effectively, yeah. I think there's like 3 different contracts that go into the actual airdrop NFT, and then some of the libraries that do the SVG generation, and because those are all. I mean, there's like lines, and all of it's dynamic. That little thing that Sam is moving his mouse along, like moves along the outside of the border, showing you how much it's matured.
Is this updating in real time, the unlock time?
It won't like tick down because this SVG is static, but if you refresh the page, every time it's generated, that it's accurate for when it's generated.
Yeah, that's cool. That's super cool. I'm glad that it looks. I think we had like. I also want to say like this is taking a lot of time. This isn't something that like it's like, oh, they had the order book from S4 Kingdoms, they just copy pasted. Like we've been having a lot of conversations, not really too much with DoubleSharp, but mostly with Samwitch, of just like, hey, let's do this, and also Johan, our team, has been super instrumental. He's in the Middle East, so it's like midnight, if not 1 a.m. his time. But I'm hoping what we can do is, as we get closer to the airdrop, we'll do more of these. And we can even do like a session of like trading, like even on the testnet or something, so that this way, when the order book comes out, there's enough information for people to at least have some context of how to operate it, whether or not they make money on it or figure out how to trade. Like that's obviously their responsibility. But how to claim the NFT. And correct me if I'm wrong. Once they go to claim, when a user goes to claim their NFT, they sign an on-chain transaction. There's like some terms and conditions. I think I had told Samwitch.
Yep.
And then once they do that, then they can claim the 25% directly, right?
The 25% will be automatic when they mint the NFT.
Okay, so once I go click claim, I'll get the 25%. Then the remaining is in the 1155 or 75.
Yeah, we effectively you'll get sent the 25%, and then you'll also in the same transaction be sent the NFT that represents the 75% that's vested.
I'm excited. I can't wait to see how much money you guys are able to make from fee monetization. It's going to be cool because we're going to see it start from zero, like fresh contracts, and kind of be able to track it. And then aside from that, we'll also get to see how much you guys make in fees. One more thing I'll wrap up with, which I didn't think about until now, is like, do you have a way where you can track P&L of like the top 10 traders or something?
Not at the moment, but it's all on chain. So
maybe someone will build that. You know, you guys focus on what you're doing, and what DoubleSharp means when he says it's all on chain means anyone can build it. So maybe that's something cool. If someone wants to, as anyone listening, I would love to give a grant for that. So if you are listening and you're a developer, maybe building a leaderboard with a P&L, like, we will be more than happy to give a grant for that, because it will show how well people are trading. And then it will also probably give a lot of encouragement to people to get more involved in the order book. So yeah, thanks for joining, guys. I appreciate it. I think it was
I have to say a couple more things, because
sure,
I can ramble on about everything, and I promised a few people I would say a few things. So
yes.
I think we mentioned a couple times, but the actual airdrop NFT is going to be in 1155, which means anything that works with an ERC 1155 can work with it. It has a few extra things in there for, doing the airdrop specific things, but that's all on top of the standard. And like we've been talking about, the fees from the order book are going to go to buyback and burn brush. Also, some of those fees go to Beardy holders, which is the Paintswap NFT collection. So those are going to be included as well. And then I've also heard a couple people who are not like on the team, but who sort of know us, and we're like, wow, you guys are doing a ton of work on something that's, for the airdrop, and then it's not going to be usable again. And we were like, nope, this is just an order book. It happens to be sort of tailored for the airdrop at this point, but the contracts can work with any ERC 1155 token, so you can use that as a wrapper around something else. And then Sam has also mentioned that even though we're big NFT fans, especially around 1155s, because you can do a lot of cool stuff with them. The order book itself can also be adapted to ERC20s in the future, or other token standards. We can keep this isn't the sort of final iteration of it. We can keep developing on it, and I think that there are going to be more order books coming out, but I don't know if I have enough time, or Sam and I have enough time to go into all the details, but there's a lot of work that's been done to sort of make this as, in quotes, standard compliant as possible, so that it is what people have come to expect from a centralized exchange order book, so that we're able to now do it on chain. And I said we were going to talk about our optimized red black tree, but I don't think we have time. So that's my nerd talk. I'm just going to say we optimized a red black tree for the order book, and it's going to have all sorts of cool stuff, and we're just going to keep pushing on it. You're muted.
We're going to do more of these. So anyone who wants more info, what I'll do is I'll connect with DoubleSharp and Samwitch, and like, maybe, I think as of right now, the airdrop is projected. I did tweet today saying like filtering check, meaning that we've like gone through a lot of the Sybil's. Team's been working on that, and likely around the second week of July is like kind of when the airdrop is. There will never be a specific day, so you won't see like, hey, the claim is going to open on this day. The way it's going to work is that there's just going to be a tweet at a reasonable time of the day on some day. And yeah, that's just kind of how it's going to happen. Everyone's going to have their own strategy. There is no perfect strategy to playing this out. It's never been done before. No chain has ever done anything like this before. And the reason why we're doing it is because it actually showcases the tech. So now, if you receive an airdrop, and let's say you are one of those like airdrop hunters that brings nothing to the chain, right? Or whatever. Now you're essentially forced to use the order book, because like, you don't want to sell for a full burn, right? Like, you don't want to get that 100% burn day one. So if you don't want that, two options. Number one option is you burn and effectively have a deflationary effect on the network. That's number one. Or number two is you go use an app and you get your hands dirty and you mess around on the chain. Win-win situation, both in my eyes, right? Like, can't go wrong. So big shout out to DoubleSharp and Samwitch for helping to build this and bring it to life. I think that I'm hoping that it works out really well on Sonic. I'm hoping that there's another chain out there that will give you a $2 million grant to come do this for their airdrop. I want everyone to make money no matter what. That's the goal of this. And if it works out for Sonic, I can't wait to see how it works for season 2. That being said, the good thing about our airdrop is that if there are some kinks, and I'm sure there will be some kinks, right? Season 1, we always have season 2 to adjust, season 3. And so, yeah, we appreciate the team for being really flexible and dynamic and working on everything. And we'll schedule another one as we get, I'd say around a week out. Let's do another one, walk through it a little bit more, just so we have like a little, like our team can clip this and make like some walkthroughs. But yeah, thanks guys for joining. I really appreciate it. Hope you guys have a good day. It looks like there's about to start raining over there, and I feel like I'm watching Twister. So
I feel like it's coming. So I think we're wrapping up at a great time.
Take care. Thanks, Samwitch. See you later.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot. Bye, everybody.
Cheers, guys. Bye.